Welcome, everybody, to day 4 of the 12 days of Christmas. I feel like I was almost about to just check myself to figure out what day it is. Usually that doesn't come until a little bit later, but it is day 4. So we are just cruising right along with the program. 12 Days of Christmas, or as I like to call it, TDOC. I want to give a big thanks to everybody that has been joining us regularly every evening. I know that's not always possible. While some of us have a lot of busy things going on for the holidays, maybe others of us don't. That's why I do this program. But I do want to start off tonight by saying thank you so much to everybody. And if you are hearing this now because you're watching the recording, I can't say how much I appreciate. Now, mind you, I don't do a lot with my YouTube channel. I promise in 2025, I'm going to try to make that a goal to change it. But to see my subscribers up to 288, I was and to see the views, like really just to see the views climbing from this is our 3rd annual. And so now the views are increasing even right off the bat from what we've had in previous years. So to me, that tells me that everybody is enjoying it, that you guys are loving it, that we're finding new people. And that's what this is all about. This is about community. And there are some fun things thrown in, I'll admit. But at the same time, this is industry people, non-industry people. And I do want to especially give a big thanks to those of you that are honestly showing up for the non-industry people, because we're all here to learn and to meet new people, learn new things. And I think last night was a perfect example of that. Tonight is another one. Tonight I've asked you guys to show up to give love and support to Ashleigh, who actually said to me as part of her project, she needed to be able to bring this to an audience. And her initial request was, could you do me a favor and share this with your social media, with your audience, because I need to get it out there with regards to my project. And I was like, you know what? I got one better. And immediately that's when I thought about adding her to TDOC. So that's what tonight's all about. We're going to dive into it further. We've got crazy costumes. I have pictures here that you're going to want to see. I am actually going to be embarrassing. Well, it's not really embarrassing, but I'm telling you, I'm going to be embarrassing myself tonight. I'm so excited to show you guys. Let's just say we're going to be seeing Ms. Tabitha at like age 4 and 5.
Uh,
So, with that, let me just go over a couple of our housekeeping things that we have to do from the start of every program, because I have to assume that there might be somebody here who has not been with us before. So again, the 12 Days of Christmas, guys, is nothing about Christmas. It's about the season. It's about the spirit of community. It's about giving. It's about relationships. It's about joy. And it's about taking time to settle in and just enjoy time for ourselves, for our friends, and just to take a deep breath and smile. And whatever that reason is for you in which you need it, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope that you will be able to receive it from every program that we've got in store for you. We're only 4 days in. It's usually about day 8 that I'm like, man, who made this schedule? And it would be me. But we are just rolling right along. Now, as part of the 12 Days of Christmas, every night there's a giveaway, but you have to be in it to win it for this one. So you have to stay with us until the end of the program. And honestly, guys, I have no idea when that's going to be. It's supposed to be 7 to 8 p.m. However, a lot of times we roll over. It just depends on how much we're vibing. Tonight, it might be that I might pass out if I don't get off of here earlier, because my background friends have decided to turn the stove on this evening. Mind you, I froze my butt off the past couple of evenings. Nobody cared. Tonight, they wanted to put the stove on when it's 50 degrees out. So I am literally melting at the moment, but we're going to take one for the team, of course. So you have to last till the end of the program. And then Ashleigh and Katherine are going to pick a number based on the amount of participants that I see in my group. And then somebody is going to get a $20 life gift certificate, or in a sense, store credit to be able to shop online with us. Now, in addition to that, I've been telling everybody that we have week-long specials going on, and we have this, I think, amazing keepsake basket. So, what that is that each of our guests, even tonight's guests, have had something to donate to the keepsake basket. And the way to get in for the winning is that for every $10 that you spend shopping with us, you get a ticket that goes in towards the drawing. And that drawing is going to happen on January 6th, which is our wrap up party. So, hopefully, everybody will be back for the wrap up party. Guests included are welcome. Now, the reason why we came up with this is because I have open house events where we have lots of donated items. We have amazing baskets. And so many of you, because you're part of my online community, you'll say, like, oh, I'm never going to get there. I can never get any of those baskets. So that's where we came up with this idea. So we have been going through every night the keepsake basket. It's a little bit of a show, if you will, just from going through things last night. But so far, Kimberly McAlinden has gifted us a free Working with Curls, her Cotswold workshop that's on our website, not the one that we're doing online, which actually just prior to coming to tonight's program, that one on January 8th is now sold out. Maybe we'll do another one. Let us know if you're interested. So that is from her. Then this is going to be too much that I'm trying to memorize myself and my guests. But in addition to that, even from last night's guests, we've got a sweatshirt. We've got a backpack. From Kevin and Ray, we've got 2 skeins of yarn, 2 enamel pins. And then tonight, guys, I know my knitters. It's either like dessert or wine. So who does not love Girl Scout cookies? Now, while it might not be Girl Scout cookie season, there is going to be a gift certificate in your basket that you have won 4, not 1, not 2. And if you do not choose Samoas, you are not my people. And please unsubscribe. I'm just kidding. Those are my absolute favorites, of which I try not to have them in my freezer. That's what I like to do. I like to put them in my freezer. So 4 Girl Scout cookie boxes that these lovely ladies will get for you. Of course, now all of the comments are going up. I do love Thin Mints as well. Absolutely. So anyway, that's the contribution for tonight. And then we're going to keep rolling on with that, of course. Now, in addition, for the wrap-up party, we also have trivia questions. So you're going to have to really listen, whether you're live or listening to the recording. And then those will be tangible gifts that we will be sending out to everybody for whoever happens to have the fastest fingers. You might as well all hope that Ruth Ann Dingwell is not on, because she's got fast fingers. However, once you win one, then you got to sit back and let other people join in. So for each guest, we're going to have a trivia question. You can win prizes that way. In addition, so far, the other launches that we've had, while there are way more sneak peeks coming up, there's a new pattern that's going to be dropped. There is a new dye collab that's going to be dropped. We have new art yarn that's going to be dropped, but you have to wait for all of those. But so far, Kimberly and I, as my first guest, we have opened up the registration for the 4th annual Life and Rainbows Knit Along. Now, while we can't show you the project, I showed the inspiration. If you didn't see it, go back to the first recording and take a look. So it's going to be color work, and it's going to be either a sweater or a cowl. I'm actually really, really thrilled to say 12 of you have already said, you know what, we don't care what it is, we are jumping on board, because that's 7 tickets going in for your basket. So just a little strategic. And you know what? I'm going to drop this because Michelle, I don't know if you were on tonight, but the most amazing thing, Michelle goes and buys herself. Now listen to this, guy. She goes and buys herself a gift certificate because there's no tax on gift certificates. And then she comes back in and applies her gift certificate to the knit along with other things that she wanted to buy. Amazing and brilliant. Big props to her. I encourage anybody else to give yourself a gift like that. In addition, even though we haven't seen Linda Courtwright yet, New Year's Eve, she will be with us. Wild Fibers, we are doing another lecture series, and many of you have already jumped on for that lecture series as well. That's all of my housekeeping. I kind of hate that, but at the same time, I need to let you guys know what it is that we're doing, what we've got going on. And these are all things that I've managed to organize just to make this week slash 12 days, I guess, be just a little more fun. So, diverging from that, let's talk a little bit about or a precursor to tonight's program. Now, wait, Ashleigh, where did your outfit go? Where is it?
It's
Where
very
is it?
hot here too.
I hear you, but
But thanks.
you are nowhere near menopause, girls. And get that outfit on. Your mom and I are dying, and that is okay. So, guys, tonight is a little bit different, as I said. Now, while my guests are not necessarily industry professionals like we had for the first two nights, very much like last night, these are all people that are in my life for one way or another, whether it's attached to the animals, attached to the fiber. And really, what I love is to be able to introduce you to new people. Now, the one thing I really didn't do this year, I kind of alluded to the fact that my llamas went to camp, but to tell you the truth, I was kind of so busy. I didn't really highlight it that much. I put a couple pictures on my stories, and that was really it, which I did not do it much service. However, now I'm kind of really glad that I didn't. So, yes, my llamas, multiple llamas, and
And sheep.
my sheep
And sheep.
went to camp this summer. Now, I'm just going to give a little precursor. I'm not going to show my surprise yet, but the thing is, if anybody knows me, you know that I would not hand my animals over. These are my babies. I would not hand my animals over to anybody. And I did not spend every day at camp, mind you, on my own. I have too much to do. But I did get a call from this camp that they were looking to add animals, and they did actually specifically ask for llamas. So I'm not even sure if there's a background story to that. So maybe Katherine can share with us. But they did specifically ask for llamas, and they got rerouted to me because, of course, anything on Long Island related to llamas comes back to me. And I think I literally had Jill respond to the inquiry by saying, I will hear them out, but this is not something that I do. And I was so upfront and pretty abrupt, I think, and I'm okay saying that, to be like, I'll come and look, but this is not really something that I would entertain. So you're really going to have to win me over. You are really going to have to prove to me that my animals can be here without me for 5 days. So, yes, if you want to call me a helicopter mom, that is completely what I was. And it got better. It got better week by week. And Katherine and Ashleigh were big reasons in that. So that's a little bit of the precursor of where we're at. I feel like I want to say so much more, but I want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. Of course, lo and behold, I visited the camp. Come on, you guys know me. I made sure I showed up. I had to meet people. I had to see what it was going to look like. I had to hear what they were going to do, who was going to handle the animals, what the plans were before I was going to drop my children off every day on Monday and pick them up on Friday. And I will never forget this. And it wasn't you, Katherine, that said it to me because, of course, there was like higher up. They were like, we're responsible for like thousands of children like every week, whatever the number is. I don't remember, but it was a lot. We're not talking 50, what is the number every week, Katherine? Do you know?
I would say at least maybe 600 or 700.
Okay. I was going to say it's not even like 100. Like it's
No.
a big camp. So they were like, yeah, we have people's children, two-legged children every week that we are responsible for. I think your animals will be okay. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Because really, though, guys, I do want to say it is a big difference. People understand people. People are moms. People are dads. They have children. Even if they don't have children, they're a person. Like, these are animals, and the amount of misconception and lack of knowledge with regards to animals is real. And the amount of, at least in our area, camps that entertain animals, literally to entertain the children, is a pretty large number. And I've seen some of those. So it really was a big concern. And again, this woman and her daughter are solely responsible for making it the most positive experience for my animals being at camp, and understanding how I felt as a mom, and making sure that they took the time to make sure my babies were good and safe. And honestly, they probably could have been running amok across camp and I would have had no idea. But they were like, no, they're good. Here's a picture of us cleaning the area. They're lovely today. And I really would have had no idea. But I felt good. And that's all that matters. So without further ado, and I'm sorry, I just needed to give a little bit of that background. And of course, there's so much more that will evolve. But I would love for the two of you to introduce yourselves, and most importantly, this is Ashleigh's platform in terms of letting us know why we're here and educating even me a little bit more about your project, because you had this project before my animals came into the picture. So I'm just here because of you. So I appreciate it. So welcome.
So my name is Ashleigh. I am a senior at Kings Park High School. My whole Girl Scout Award project is basically going back. The Girl Scout Award project is an award that you go for when you're at your highest level. You've been through the program since you were a kid. You go through like daisies, brownies. So it's an award that you work up to it's your like final project to kind of show what you've learned throughout the years to help make a difference on communities and impact others' lives, kind of like educate others on a topic that you feel is important to you. So I decided to take my project into more of the animal field because I've been obsessed with animals since I was a kid. I actually have a tortoise at my house.
Oh my God, wait. I'm so sorry. This is what we do. I have to interrupt you because I'm slightly obsessed with Instagram. And just the other day, I don't know where people find the time, but there's a page that I started following. It was a tiny little baby tortoise, because I know they live to the point where you have to have them in your will. And this person had like table settings and had a little baby tortoise, like eating all different things and having tea. I was obsessed. So if you don't do that already, I'll be sure to share that with you, and I'll see that moving forward. Thank you.
So I've been at Ivy League Day Camp since two. I think that's
okay. Wait,
16.
what was that year? Welcome to me jumping. What year was that?
2008, 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, I can't even touch.
and like you, I dropped her off as a 2-year-old and a one-on-one program, and I like drove out of the driveway and started crying my eyes out that I just left my baby with a random child who was going to take care of her.
But so then you did not go to Ivy League?
No, not for a couple of years.
Okay.
So I've always loved the animal. I love horses and everything. And I've always felt a special connection to that area because I love being with the animals. So I figured that instead of trying to help animals somewhere else or just a random area, why not take it to a place that would be an easier area that I feel like would make a special impact. So I decided to take the stables at camp and the little corral, and I decided, since it's extremely older and it hasn't been updated in a while, to kind of renovate and refurbish the area to give more love and like home, like a homely sense to it. So I worked with the camp maintenance staff, and we actually had the same idea on what we wanted to do, because years prior, with the camp animal area, it was kind of like the two horses together, and there was like a fence that separated the two, but the way to get them out, you had to take one horse out and then you could take the other one out. So it was kind of an inconvenience for the animals, and it wasn't as homely as a vibe. So I decided to work with the camp staff, and we both came up with an idea to create a pathway in between, so you're not disturbing the animals during their time at camp, because unlike many children, they come to camp, they get to have fun and everything. These animals have to stay in these enclosures. For the horses, they stay in all summer, so they don't get to go back home every day. So kind of just coming up with a space that they feel at home and at ease.
All the thunders.
All
So I
the
was gonna say,
thunderstorms and
Ashleigh, so
everything.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second, only because
Yeah.
I also don't know, and I want to help paint a picture for our guests, because we all know what it looked like.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you could, do either of you know the acreage of this camp, like the overall scope of it? About.
Not, you know what? I can look it up while she's.
I mean, we're talking acres and acres.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You know, we're talking a huge camp. I mean, it took me 10 minutes to walk to the other side. I'm gonna guess maybe like 30 acres, but that's just, I'm pulling that out of anywhere. So with regards to the animal area though, Ashleigh, so picture everybody when you're looking at the animal area. So I'm going to be kind of looking uphill, where normally I would be coming, I'm going to call it downhill to deliver them. So if you're looking uphill to the left, there was a little paddock area, a fenced in area with a house, and that's where the ponies were. And then there's an aisleway in between. And then to the right were two more separate paddock areas that were conjoined with two separate houses. So if you could picture everyone, and we're going to find out what it used to be like. So to the left were the two ponies, and they had their house. And then there was an aisleway so that they were divided. And then to the right, there was one paddock area where we had the llamas. And then, the first paddock area was the sheep. And then the second area was the llamas. And those two pens were conjoined, but obviously divided. Yet if the animals could all work well together, then that was also opened and that they could intermingle, but everybody had their own separate houses. So was that normally not the case? I don't know what was new. I know all the fencing was new, but I don't know in terms of what it used to look like beforehand.
Yeah.
So beforehand, it was all three kind of were connected. And then in the back, like where the sink and everything, where like a corral would be, I know where you saw the corral area. It was kind of like a little opening that you could, it was like a small pen kind of that you would take the horse in, you would put the leash on, you would come out. Well, that's
an old picture before. So like all the paint was like chipped. That was one small little area. And that was the other small little area.
Okay. Yeah. And of course I can picture it in my mind now. So that helps me a little bit. So your idea was to separate those two areas. But in the past, what kind of animals were there? I know the ponies were always a mainstay because of course everybody loves pony rides. But what other animals do you remember from growing up in camp?
Every year there was always two ponies. We had maybe 3-4 sheep, and then we had 1 or 2 goats. So kind of like when you think a farm in general, like a
usual farm,
like
a usual farm, like a petting zoo in a way.
Okay. And so where did and I know I'm kind of mixing the two together in terms of your project and then how my animals came into play. And maybe Katherine knows this more than you, I'm not sure. So where did it come into play in terms of having llamas introduced to camp? Were they ever there before, or whose idea was that? Do we know?
I'm not sure. We've never had llamas before.
Okay.
So we've the biggest we've gone is sheep. Sorry, horses. So we've never had them before. So that was an exciting new thing to have.
Okay.
And so once we had you come over, we ended up, making some talk about where would the llamas fit in and where would they be most comfortable.
Okay.
And luckily finding out that they worked well in one of the new enclosures she made with a bigger roof, so that when all the rains we've been having lately,
Yeah.
we wanted them to have a place that they could go and feel comfortable and at home.
So
But
I'm
I
gonna
will
say,
find out about the llamas and get back to you, because I do
yeah,
not know.
I'm just curious, and so I'm going to take a moment to backtrack a little bit because I know we've just sort of like jumped so fast forward, which is fine. And somebody is asking, Justine, thank you. Just to clarify a little bit, so what we're talking about is actually not really a farm. It is called Ivy League. Is it just Ivy League Day Camp?
Yep,
Yeah.
Ivy League
Yeah.
Day Camp.
Okay, so it's Ivy League Day Camp. Now, the beautiful thing and the only reason why I even remotely entertain this is because it is such a long standing camp, and I'm putting that in quotes because I'll tell you why, but it's such a long standing camp that has been in our community. Now, the credentials, I think, for that, do stand for itself. It started as a nursery school and then has grown into this huge conglomerate, which I'm still amazed the amount of children that would unload on buses in the morning and then find their way to wherever they have to go. And whether it was a buddy system, or I was just like, how do these kids know where they're going? I'm like, I didn't even know where I'm going. I feel like it's early in the program, but I am just going to then take this opportunity because I do want to. I think it's so important. And I told everybody at the camp that I was going to bring this, and I never did because somebody else always has a plan, right? And this was just perfect. So this is such a long-standing program that Ashleigh said she's been in it since she was 2. I was curious if Katherine had ever been involved, with the program. This was my nursery school, folks. So I think somebody has since told me that I was in like maybe the second year of its beginnings. I don't think I was in the first year, but in the second year. So I was in the early beginnings of what was Ivy League nursery school. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I'm not sure why, because there's really not many things that I remember, as a youngster. We're talking 4 or 5 years old. This was pre-kindergarten, but I do. And it was in a church. And interestingly enough, actually later in life, well, I don't know if it was a church then, but it became a church. So later in life, I actually went back to that church, which was wild to think of. But I remember it. You know what I remember? Like, I know I'm taking away from you, and I'm so sorry, but it's all about this. I remember making sandcastles. I have no idea why, but I remember making sandcastles. And I remember nap time because who wouldn't? Back in the day, they would pull out cots, I kid you not, and like, we would have nap time because maybe this was all day nursery school. I'm not really sure. One of my dearest friends, who I'm no longer in contact with, but one of my dearest friends, Jeanette Einbinder, I met in nursery school, and we were friends pretty much all through like high school, even though we went to different high schools. So just whoever was in charge, whoever run this, the people that work there obviously did such a good job of creating such a community that so many people have continued on in this program for years and years and years. And obviously it moved out of the church, and now it's in, actually still weirdly enough, in a residential community, but they've managed to secure quite a bit of property for it. So frantically this evening, now literally I took a knife to cut these pictures out of my photo album. And so I can't even believe I'm doing this. My first one, I hope it shows up. My first one is dated. I don't even want to say that. It's dated 1976, 77. So that means, yeah, so I'm 70. Well, I'm not 72. I was born in 72, folks. Don't get ahead of me here. So that means basically this was my, 4 to 5 year old. I almost want to be like, you guys should just find me on your own.
Oh, I love this.
Now, I want to say there was a Miss Justine, and I feel like somebody said she just recently retired, or maybe there was somebody with an N. I can't remember, but I need to see in the comments. I'm trying to look at the comments. Does nap time, does anybody see me? Nobody is saying anything. Nobody wants to say anything, right? Okay, folks, that would be me right
Aw,
there. With those high-headed
that's so sweet.
ponytails, I did not like the low ponytail. My mom had to always, somebody just said on the end, third row, Erin. So yeah, that would be me right there.
Aw.
All right, and then because I was there for 2 years, actually this one I actually almost had a hard time finding myself. Could I just tell you my husband couldn't even pick me out? I'm like, what is wrong with you? So this was 75, 76. I don't think I changed much. The ponytails are still there.
Oh, in the middle.
Yeah. So that would be me right there. Again, if anybody else, did anybody else have those ballies? We called them ballies. Like you put your hair in ponytails and they had
Oh,
ball
yeah.
guns. Yeah, and you'd kill yourself with those things, right? So I always had those ballies in my head. So anyway, I was so excited to be able to pull these pictures out, and I'm gonna have to take pictures, put them on my stories, but I'm gonna like black it out and tell people they have to go and watch the recording in order to see me. So that again, the reason why I'm digressing is because that is the quality, I feel like, of the program and the reputation of Ivy League day school. So again, not a farm, a school. So for me to feel comfortable about leaving my animals there was a big credit, to everybody there. So again, going back, and now I need to ask you because I feel like I want to have some backstory. How long were you a Girl Scout for?
I was a Girl Scout since kindergarten. I started the program like everyone else did. Their first year, I was a daisy. I don't remember exactly what year it was.
Kindergarten.
Well, no, I mean
what
like
year?
the year. But I've worked my way up all the way through. There's
But
not many people though that say.
do you realize that not a lot of people do that?
Yeah.
So I'm the troop leader, and when we started, I had 14 girls, and it was during their school had a flood or a roof like collapse, and so I was like, oh, well, I'll just have the girls come to my house, and so they sat around my dining room table. We all had so much fun, and when the school reopened, we continued to do out of my dining room. And so every other Thursday, they would come to my house. We'd have a snack and Girl Scouts. And to this day, senior year, we have 6 girls still out of the 14, which I was very impressed with. And only 2 are actually going for their gold award. So they all got their bronze award. Those were in small groups that I helped them with. They all got their silver, but the gold they have to do on their own. And so 2 of my girls did the gold award. So it shows how very few actually go to that level and spend those, 80 to 100 hours to show something you're passionate about. And I was really proud of her because she worked really hard to get that barn, because Ivy League is like her second home. So that's why she chose to, make it better for the animals there, so that it was always there when she would visit and do it. And now she's a counselor there. So
I mean,
it all goes
regardless
around.
of that fact, just again, I mean, it's a credit to the both of you, but like, I did not start as a daisy. I think I jumped in as a brownie. Did not last very long because, right, a lot of times it is about who is the leader and the commitment, to that. So, of course, it's probably a good time to share that you are a teacher, Katherine, right?
Yes.
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 So, to your credit, I am sure that that's why the program that you created and had for Ashleigh, has had such long standing because of your commitment to education and experiences and things like that. But even still, you maybe didn't have a choice to drop out, Ashleigh. I'm not sure.
I told her I would stay as long as she wanted to stay.
Good. Now, because I never got to that level, interestingly enough, I want to say also to a credit to you, Ashleigh, in my work with Cornell Cooperative Extension at the Suffolk County Farm, so a very like similar setting, I had always heard about the Eagle Scouts and
Mhm.
the project that the boys would do. I actually never knew that there was something similar for the girls. And I'm wondering why
It
that.
doesn't get the recognition, unfortunately.
Yeah. And is it, do you feel like because not as many girls stay till the end, or just doesn't get the same, clout or recognition? But I had no idea that there was a similar program.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think because there's not a lot of recognition, you also nowadays, since Boy Scouts has started taking girls, now a lot of girls go to Boy Scouts to get their Eagle Scout. And unfortunately, the Girl Scout Award is just as wonderful. They put in a lot of time and effort and spread the word. So, it is
So
still true.
can you, because I have no idea, can you go all the way through Girl Scouts until you graduate high school and not do this award?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
then what is the benefit, or what is the reason to have somebody like yourself do this award? Or is there? Maybe there's not.
Um, I think personally, some people might not say there's a benefit. Some people do it for, they say it looks good on college resumes and everything like that. I feel like the true benefit is just to leave like an imprint on the community and kind of get like something you're passionate about and show others to get like support for whatever you're going for. I feel like that's like my true benefit of this.
Okay. And then what are the parameters, I'm going to say? So they tell you that you have to do obviously something that you're passionate about. What are the requirements that you have to meet for this project?
Um, they say your project, you have to work alongside someone. Like I worked with the owners of the camp, the maintenance staff. I worked with you for some of this. You also have to have at least 80 hours that you've worked on this project between research, the actual implementation, education. You have to also complete the bronze and silver awards, which are the two awards you get before you can become like the gold award recipient kind of, and you
And what
can
did
work
you have to
towards
do
that.
for those?
The bronze award and the silver award, you kind of work with your group, and like in the small groups, it's kind of like the gold award where you make a project that is a lasting impact on others. I think we did for our silver award, we wanted to focus on like the running aspect of our community, and like the people who like to use trails to kind of walk around our town. And we created little signs with like positive motivational speeches and then like kind of quotes to motivate others to continue to go down these trails. We also made a bench out of recycled bottle caps and bottles to kind of leave that environmental piece to our community. And so someone can sit down when they get tired and then they can continue on their journey to kind of like improve the little aspects of our town. And then I think the bronze award, which was the first award we did, we worked with a local homeless shelter, and we talked with some of the girls there. And every Friday we would go and we'd come up with little crafts we can do and little projects that we think they would enjoy. Like we did, there was reading, there was arts and crafts, we brought snacks in to kind of just make them feel happy and just promote like the positivity, which is what Girl Scouts is really all about. And
so
we also left a bookshelf.
So those awards were things
Yeah.
you do as a group, and then is it that the gold award?
The gold award is the final, you kind of show yourself, whereas the bronze and silver award are the projects you can show you working in a group with someone else or a smaller group of people.
6th and 7th grade, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first one was like 6th and 7th grade or 7th and 8th grade, and then the next was like a 9th and 10th.
Oh,
and then
okay.
So it's like as you go,
Okay, so there's time in between.
yes,
I got you.
yes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So then, okay, so in addition to restructuring the
Mhm.
facilities, let's just say that the animals were going to live in, what
Mhm.
other things that you did you do, for the area or to improve the education, the information,
Mhm.
or other parts of your project?
We we came up with some little fun facts about each of the animals that we had at camp. We also looked up some of the things like the safety rules for each type of animal. Um, we created the little signs and we put them around the fences to make sure that when someone comes over near the animal, they can read it and they can gain some information on the llamas, the sheep, the horses. We also planted some flowers around the area just to give like a really nice homey feel and a really pretty area. And also it helped with some of the smell
The
at
lavender.
the in the area. Um
And then took care of the animals.
yeah, and then the major part was just taking care of the animals during the summer to show that I wanted to continue helping even though my like the building aspect was over, so I could show my care like my want and my desire for the animals to help them. So that was the major aspects of it. I also created a little slideshow. I know I shared with you, Tabitha, that was kind of about what I put on some of my things with the animal facts, some safety, and then I also added at the end a couple pictures of the animals at camp and some of the things that they were doing around camp, whether it was me helping clean up there, them walking around and seeing some of the campers. We have a green and white week at camp, and I think I was with Sir Arthur, and I had my green and white on, and Sir Arthur was wearing a green sweatshirt. So we kind of just showed like some of the aspects of how the animals interacted with us at camp. So it wasn't just mainly they were staying there at camp.
Right, right. Is mom pulling up? There, yeah. So for my lifers, those of you guys that know Sir Arthur, Evan, there's the two of them there. So I mean, at least from our end, we rotated. I mean, we took a little bit of a different approach than the ponies, as Ashleigh was mentioning. As Ashleigh was mentioning, the ponies kind of go and stay there, the entire time. But again, being the helicopter mom that I am, I wanted them, and also just for the benefit of how they were going to behave at the camp, I did want to be able to rotate the animals through so that they were not tired of being in a relatively small area because look, that's all the camp can provide, which is understandable. And the same thing, for the sheep included. And so basically, Molly and Victor, for those of you that know my sheep, Molly and Victor would rotate out with Clover and Mumford. There's Evan at the buses. That was kind of some of my favorite times when, I had a little more time to be able to then, take the animals over to the buses to be able to greet the kids as, they were getting off. And so, yeah, we will circle back to that, Sherry. So thank you. So the sheep, we were a little limited. We had the four of them. So basically 2 and 2 would rotate every other week. The llamas, we had a little bit more to choose from. Ah, there's Molly. There was one week in particular where we were all off at the Ohio State Fair. So we did have to send, two of our lesser experienced llamas, that was Baby J and Retro, to camp. But outside of that, we had Sir Arthur, we had Evan, we had Stewie, and then we even sent Tully and Munson. So everybody had a chance to kind of rotate through. So I'd be curious from the both of you because Katherine, there's Munson and Tully. So obviously, as a teacher during the regular school year, you are now a counselor, correct? At Ivy
So
League?
I'm a director of transportation.
Oh, okay.
I'm in charge of all the buses, and then I do logistics, which is like the photographers, the tutors, and all that stuff. And I do the mini program with the 2-year-olds.
Okay. All right. And then Ashleigh, you're no longer a camper. So
No.
how long have you been, are you a counselor in training or are you a counselor?
So this past summer was my second year as a counselor.
Okay.
Um, I did the third grade girls this summer.
Okay.
Last year I did kindergarten. It was a lot, but it was fun still. I
Now with
think kindergarten.
kindergarten, are you one-on-one? I don't know what their ratio
Um,
is for the little ones.
so the
No, the little,
ratio
little one.
I think it was like each one person had 4 or 5. I
Because
think
the
4.
camp goes down to 2-year-olds, and that's where it's a
Mhm.
one-on-one.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 2-year-old program is a 1-to-1 because it's their first time really, a lot of them away from home.
Right, right. So I would say I would love this response from each of you separately. So Ashley, since this is your platform, I'm curious, and I'm not trying to bait this, but I know that when they came to me and spoke with me, and I don't remember who said, but I know that at least prior to my getting there, whether it was the year before or all along, I do not know. But I know that the comment was that the animals really weren't very interactive. Um, I felt bad.
Yeah.
Somebody even said they were ugly, but you know, so I'm curious because honestly, I have no other perspective. I know my animals are amazing, and I know I tried to do my best, to provide an experience for everybody. But so for you, having been there since you were 2, and then now as a counselor, and then having put this whole project together, honestly, how was it for you to see new animals there? How did it work? And what were your
Mhm.
overall impressions?
I
And you
feel
could be
like
honest. You could be
oh.
honest.
I feel like this year compared to other years, your llamas and your sheep way more friendly than any other animal we've had in the past because we would take them out and like walk them around camp, and all the campers, especially my girls, were in love with the sheep and the llamas. Everyone would always want to come over, meet them, kind of find out what their name is. They would pet them. I feel like this year compared to many other years, the animals were more interactive with the campers and even the counselors. And I feel like they were way more friendly than in the past. And I feel like that also helped kind of like encourage others to learn more about your animals, the ponies, kind of an aspect. Because as you get older in camp, not many of the campers actually get to go over and say hi to the animals.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a very new approach, but I think everyone loved it this year, especially getting to see the llamas come over.
And that was something that I learned, because there were certain weeks I had more time when I would drop them off on Mondays. And then there were other times, once I got comfortable with them
Mhm.
being there were other times where I had to like kick them out the door, on my way. But when I did have the time to walk to the buses and then make my way back, that's when I realized, which I feel like in some ways, and I don't know, Catherine, as an educator, I feel like in some ways, as kids get older and they get into junior high, high school, it's almost like the fun aspect of learning gets dropped. Now, I know in camp, those kids are going off to do experiences off of the camp. But when I think about in high school, the field trips and the hands on options, in some ways, I feel like to reduce. So there was a group of kids that were always in the basketball court, mainly because they were lining up to go to other places off camp, which is super fun. But that's when I learned that unless we were walking the animals around, they didn't get to enjoy some of the things that the camp has to offer because they were just on the other experience of things. And I want to just answer one question and then we can go to your experience, Catherine. But my friend Sue was just asking, were the llamas confused in terms of why they were being left there? In my perspective, because the animals that I chose to use for this program are animals that are used to traveling and going to llama shows, I felt like it really wasn't any different. Now, we also travel and we do programs in the community where we might leave them in something like that and then they're going to go home at the end of the day. So I don't doubt that at some point they weren't like, Okay, we're not going home tonight. But that would be no different than when we go to a llama show and they are stuck in a much smaller area for 4 days, whereas this was a pretty spacious area that they were there for 5 days and then also got interacted with and walked around and things like that. And so much so that the ones who repeated their time there, especially the sheep, they pretty much just dragged to the pen when they got out of the trailer. So they knew exactly where they were going. They knew the routine. And again, super, super big credit to the people who are responsible for them to make them feel comfortable and do everything that they could to learn how to handle them and interact with them and give them a positive experience. So I don't think that they were confused in light of that. In terms of will I do it again? I mean, I guess that's look. I'm humbled to say that to be seen because I don't know that I would be asked back again. Of course, if I was asked back again, there's no reason why I wouldn't do it again. And again, that is solely. I'm such a dork. I'm getting choked up. It's only day 4. But welcome to everybody usually sees me break down at one point. But the only reason why I would do it again is because of Katherine and Ashleigh, but honestly, mostly Katherine, because she was so kind to make sure that I knew my animals were okay. This is like, and I'll leave this right. Like, I don't edit this out because this is really me and people who have been with me for TDOC. There's usually like one time or another that I'm getting like choked up about something. I've actually been fighting it back since the beginning. So I would absolutely, because it's just so important. I think for people to hear like how much of a difference they make. So. All right, you talk.
Okay, my turn. So Tabitha knows that I am in love with them and they're my babies in the summer. So we have our shirts on. Our theme this year was what if. So I said to Ashley, I was going to embarrass her because I was be like, what if we got llamas this summer at camp? And I'll say, what if it was the greatest experience of our life? We loved the sheep. And as she was saying, the sheep we've had in the past, not so sure I would go in there and play with them. These sheep, I literally, one day I got knocked over because he was so hungry. I don't remember who it was, but I had to send Tabitha a picture because literally
Molly.
I was standing there putting hay in and Molly was between my legs trying to eat the hay between. So they were amazing. We loved them. The beautiful thing about the sheep, as I said, we had this petting area that kids could go, but nobody really, they kind of stood at the fence, maybe said hello. We would take the sheep out. We have a nature person too. So we trained her how to, take the sheep out. And she would be walking with the little children, and the little children, maybe 4, 5, 6-year-olds, were holding the leash, walking sheep. Like, where could you ever go and experience that? The kids absolutely adored the sheep. They fed the sheep. Ashleigh and I every morning would, clean up and, feed them. We would clean their, their areas all the time. I never thought I would see my daughter, who's wanted to be a veterinarian since she was 3, not have a problem picking up poop. And I will say now, the first time she went in there, she just started digging, and I was like, wow, I'm so impressed. This is my little like prima donna. But it just shows like her love. She was like, oh, let's go. Don't matter how stinky, let's get them cleaned up. We'd clean them up in the morning. We'd feed them at night before we went to bed. We'd turn the fan on. We'd blow them kisses. I got licked and licked.
I have to remind you though, this was not originally the plan and was not told to me. So also guys, and I'm going to give credit without crying, but there was originally the maintenance men and there was, a lead person in particular that was supposed to be in charge of this. And on my first day, which I get, first day of camp is busy, not my problem, dropping these animals off, there was like, what is it that you want me to do? And okay, you guys know me. Like we had our hay, we had it tied off. I mean, we did need to work through that. They were very happy in the beginning based on what they were getting fed. But, we had our bags of grain labeled, like, we had fly spray, we had everything. It was extremely high maintenance and I didn't expect it to be followed to a T, but I also didn't expect to like have somebody look at me and be like, you want me to do what? And literally when I brought the animals there the first day, I was like, oh no, this isn't working. Nope, I did not sign up for this. This person does not know. He doesn't even really seem interested about what I'm asking him to do. This needs to be fixed. And that is really where you guys stand.
I leaned over and I
Both
said
of
to
you.
Tabitha, it's going to be okay. I gotcha. We will step in and we will do whatever you want.
And
And
you
I
did.
will, and we did. And I will tell you, there's nothing like waking up in the morning. The first time we get there 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock every morning anyways, there was nothing like going and, you know, seeing them first thing in the morning and feeding them and cleaning them. And just, it was such a great experience. And as Ashleigh was saying, the older kids don't ever go to the mini side of the campus. You know, it's the smaller fields, it's the smaller everything. You know, they have a whole side of the camp just for the little children so that they don't have to like run into 12, 14, 15-year-olds. And so we would purposely, as Tabitha said, you get them out, do whatever you want. Like, so we would walk them to the older kids who just didn't even realize we had animals there. And they loved knowing that the animals were there, and they would get excited to see, oh, which llamas do you have this week? Let me pet. Can I pet? Can I take a picture? It was such an excitement to see who was there that week, who was famous, who was, you know, we played basketball one day with them. And for green and white, they got to do a little race. We did jumping in the driveway when it was closed over boxes to have a competition. You know, Tabitha just let us have fun and show the children, oh, the llamas play basketball. We bounce it and they try to just touch it with their leg. It was very, very cute. We got the basket for them. I beat Rebecca.
And guys, mind you too, like this is a camp in terms of the size that every morning there was like an assembly. There was like a huge stage with like bleachers, and somehow or other I would always wander up when they were doing like, what was it, like morning announcements?
Yes. Yep. And two of them even went up on the stage because they got their high five award for being kind and friendly and all that. So I brought them on stage and they got their high five bracelets for the summer.
I was there for some of the green and white when there were different skits going on stage, and we're talking there's people on microphones like screaming and yelling, there's kids in the pool, like I mean there's just so much happening at this camp. And yeah, most of the time the llamas, you know, I mean the sheep as well, but you know the llamas would, you know, be walking around and just visiting with the different stations and the kids. And you know, it was really fun to see. And then of course actually there was a day where some of the campers got to sign
came
up.
to you.
Yeah, they got to sign up for a field trip to come to the farm. So what was fun for me, you know, and again, like you guys have to remember, and Ashleigh, I'm not taking away from anything that you did, because everything that you guys did to help teach the kids, you know, whether again it was the signage or just having the area look nice, smell nice, be clean. You know, the biggest thing when I see kids go to petting zoos, they're always like, ew, it stinks, or ew, or this, or, you know, and then again, if the animals aren't happy, they are not going to respond in the way that you would like them to. So all of this is coming full circle to then where the kids were at my farm here, then being able to see them in their actual environment, the kids that I would recognize from camp, you know, that was the stuff that you guys didn't necessarily get to see, but super, super fun for me, you know, for them to have had such a positive experience that when they have a million other things that they could sign up for, they went home and told their parents that this was the experience they wanted. And we must have had 30 something kids show up on our farm to be able to have, you know, a great experience here. So that's all because of you.
Thank you. We enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, and so in terms of your award, because I'm just curious, and I don't know, I know it's hard. I always tell everybody, I try to look at the chat. If there's questions, I try to focus on them. I try not to get too distracted by it because I really just want to be vibing with the guests. But what I'm finding fun is the people putting in the chat their experiences, you know, in Girl Scouts, you know, throughout the years. So what quantifies you getting your gold award? Meaning, is it actually graded? Is it just that you did it? What do you get? So what happens then?
So after you fill out your award, well, you say you completed it, you go through a bunch of questions, paperwork, kind of saying what did you do along the way? What were you using your 80 plus hours for? Who are you working with? Kind of questions. I know there's a couple questions that are like, how did you get others to engage in your experience? What leadership opportunities did you see? How did you like engage others? I know I probably said that. How do you engage others in your projects? How do they how is your project going to make like a lasting impact on the community? So there's a bunch of questions like focused in on certain aspects of the award. So they read through all of your questions, all of the paperwork that you fill out, and then they'll tell you, you completed your gold award, here's your certificate, you're invited to this banquet to celebrate your award and kind of tell others about your award. So it's kind of like an overall great experience. It doesn't say, it's not graded, but if you don't get up to the 80 hours or you don't fill something out correctly, they'll tell you and they'll say, unfortunately, we can't give it to you now until you fill out this part or you fine tune this.
And so have you completed your project at this point?
I'm in the stages of working on the questions and the paperwork and everything. There's a lot of questions that they want to know about your project.
Okay.
But I think this opportunity with the 12 days of Christmas is a really important part so I can get out my experience with my award and I can say that I was able to share what my project was about and kind of teach others what I did and what I love so that they can learn to love that stuff too, I
Mhm.
guess.
Well, because under normal circumstances, obviously, most people, don't have a platform such as this.
Yes.
So, what would be other ways? Like, if I had not, had this and thought of this, but also if you had not asked me. So, what are ways in which normally, youth in your position would make an effort to get it
Mhm.
out? Because that's part of it. You had told me was that part of the project was that you had to get this information out to a greater audience,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes. So, especially with my generation, everyone loves to get their project out through social media. I know they'll post things on Instagram. I'm not the biggest user of social media, so that's not how I like to get mine out. I know a bunch of people work with their partners, like the owners at our camp. I'll give them my slideshow, I'll show it, I'll say, is there a way that you can post this on the camp website so more people can learn about animal safety and kind of how their experience and some of the photos with the animals and kind of like promote my picture of the animal safety and educating others on that. I know you can also people host like Zoom meetings kind of to get their community to learn about their projects. That's a couple of the things that a couple of people would do. I think
Yeah,
you could
I
really
was
get it
gonna
out
say,
anyway.
and Jillian, who's one of my lifers, consistent lifers. I didn't see all of her comments, but I'm getting the feeling that she has had similar experiences, perhaps in Girl Scouts. And
Mhm.
Jillian, you can drop in the chat and let me know. But I know she's had a couple of comments to say, and so of course, she said, don't forget this is recorded, so it will be uploaded to my YouTube
Yeah.
channel. So then you're able to grab that, and if for some reason or other you can't, let me know. But of course, if that's helpful, to
Mhm.
you to be able to then share that in any way. But I
Mhm.
would say to you, this is also your opportunity, because I will tell you, I really do have the most amazing community that is here, new people, that are just jumping on board, but my consistent lifers that have been with me. Is there anything that anybody in this group can do for you in terms of whether it's just, a note or two saying, that they were part of this, or what did they learn from this? Is there anything else that this community can do for you to help you to finish out your
Mhm.
project?
I think just being here, hearing my experience is all that I need really to just get my project out. If someone wants to tell someone else about the project, I feel like it's just engaging others in my aspect of the animals and kind of your farm and all the llamas and the sheep. I think that's really just to get others to listen to what I did and kind of share my point of view on my experience with animals is all that I really need for this project.
Well, and people are jumping ahead of me because I, of course, have the same thoughts, which is great. I will say, Wanda, who's a dear friend of ours, she's saying that she's enjoyed hearing about your project and hope that you've learned, a lot from it. Another dear friend, Sue, is asking, which was going to be where we're leading into, which is amazing. So, for me, you're a senior, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so even though, and I don't mean to say even though, but many young children love animals growing up. We want to be a veterinarian. And then of course, as we get older, we realize that is, a big thing to tackle. And we all don't necessarily end up in that direction. But with your love of animals, whether you're going in that direction or not, what are your plans as of right now? I say that because I feel like what's amazing is that kids have so many opportunities, and I've grown and learned as I've gotten older that what we think we're going to do now doesn't mean that's what we're going to do. And kids have so much pressure on themselves, on a day to day, that not feeling like I'm railroading you into anything. But as of right now, what are your plans after high school? What are your thoughts?
So I'm gonna go to SUNY Geneseo. I'm on a pre-veterinary track. I'm gonna play tennis there, and I'm gonna explore kind of and research the biology and animal sciences. I'm also doing Spanish, so I'm gonna kind of tap into that aspect because I love learning about other languages and other cultures and kind of how everyone in the world is connected in some way or form. So I'm gonna continue on in that track, and I want to end up going. My dream is to go to Cornell to become a veterinarian. To kind of, I'm not sure if I want to do small animals, large animals, to just explore all aspects of the animal community because they're so interesting in their own way because they can't talk to us, but I feel like we can connect to them on a deeper level. And I feel like that really is why I want to become a veterinarian, to help them because they can't speak for themselves. So I guess that's kind of my passion.
I was going to say, and Stephanie, who oddly enough, I'll make the connection for you. Basically, like her children and my llamas are named after each other, vice versa. That's the short story. But Stephanie is saying that she's an alumni of the school that you're going to. So that's cool. In what made you choose that school? Because again, as somebody who went to school with the same premise that you have and was an animal science major, so I'm curious what made you choose that school.
I feel like also the being close to home aspect is really important, but just the campus overall is gorgeous. And I feel like everyone there, when I went on my tour, they're just so welcoming, so friendly. It's like a whole other home, I guess. So I feel like it's just such a really welcoming, homely place that everyone just gets along. They're so nice to like everyone. They have so many opportunities in research fields because they are an undergraduate school. So I feel like that also drew me towards them, is that I can pursue many research topics and explore my passions with animals instead of fighting against someone who's maybe in their graduate school trying to get a research opportunity. I feel like they really focus on the newer people that are trying to learn about their passions at school, and I feel like that really just drew me to the school.
Now, as you said, pre-vet biology, you also mentioned animal science. I'm not familiar with that school actually having. Do they have animals on campus?
I'm not exactly sure. I know that there's a class, like they'll give you kind of a, if you want to go through a track, they'll give you some of the classes you should take. I'm not exactly sure if they have animals on campus or if you go off campus to kind of like an area where you can do research there. But I know they don't offer an animal sciences
Okay.
like major, but that's kind of the pre-veterinary biology track.
Okay. And then you mentioned tennis and Spanish. So
Yeah.
are those two things that you're like really involved in right now?
Yes.
And so do
Yeah.
they have an excellent tennis team or something? Are you getting a scholarship related to anything?
They have they're a D3 school for tennis. They have a really good program there, and I went to go watch them. They're really good, and they're so lovely, so nice. I talked to one of the girls. She actually she graduated a year ago, and she worked on the pre-veterinary track.
Mhm.
And I think hearing others' experiences there, especially at the tennis team, about how they managed their passion for tennis and also their major, I think it was really cool to learn about that. And then also it made Geneseo feel kind of like a second home, even though I'm not there yet.
And then what about in terms of your Spanish? Is that just something you really enjoy or?
I love all languages. I feel like Spanish is a more popular language, especially at my school. That
Mhm.
was more widely offered. So I started Spanish in 7th grade. And I feel like ever since then, I've just loved learning the second language, speaking, and I love speaking Spanish, kind of like opening my eyes to a whole new world of languages and getting to speak freely my ideas in like a whole different language. I've just found so fascinating.
Well, you consider yourself lucky. I took 5 years of French. Pretty much ask you like, what time is it? And you speak French, and that's pretty much about it. But at the
Mhm,
same time, it's interesting because yes, like now looking back, I certainly wish I took Spanish because it would be more applicable, to today's
mhm,
day and age. Even with Mimi, who I have working on my farm now, who's from Spain, actually, in fact. But while her English is great, we have a lot of fun,
mhm,
talking about different things, and she tries to teach me, I try to teach her. So I would actually just remind you, that our doors open here, and if there's anything
mhm.
to do for you, I can actually give you experience in both animals and Spanish at this point. So
Mhm.
tennis, I can't help you with. I did softball. I can only play tennis like softball, so that would probably
Mhm.
not be very helpful. But I mean, aside from that, and then we have said before, and I know that you guys have been here to the farm, and they were so kind to surprise me for our open house that we just had for our holiday open house. Well, they didn't really surprise me because I think I asked or posted like, "Hey, anybody from camp coming?" And they could not manage to keep a secret, so I knew they were going to be here, which was super fun. So yep, there we go. That was Stewie there dressed up as Santa with Catherine and Ashley. So it was great to have you guys, on the farm, of course. But again, in your journey, really, if there is anything, that we can do and provide you with experiences, our doors, of course, are always open to
Mhm.
And we'll be back when the weather's warmer to come play.
Why? Come on, when you work with animals, it's at all temperatures.
Mhm.
Actually, it's quite lovely out right now, so
It probably is right now because it's not too
it is.
cold.
It's beautiful. Never mind the rain. It's absolutely beautiful.
Maybe we'll come this week.
So, I mean, either way, all of that. I mean, I actually have to say what I love is, the comments that we're getting, in the chat. And unfortunately, the door just got opened, and I'm waiting for dogs to descend upon me. But the overwhelming response, honestly, Ashley, that was the one thing that I knew, that the people who would show up, they love to hear from young people. They love to
Mhm.
support young people in their journeys, and that's just, I think, the welcoming parts of the community
Mhm.
that I have. And so I hope that you do get a chance to see some of the comments in the chat, and how much
Mhm.
congratulating you and wishing you the best. And I will equally, say the same in terms of, this entire, presentation. and my experience, being with both of you guys, at the camp. Now, what I'm going to do, I have some like housekeeping things, of course, again, that I try to wrap up before we end the program. But on the other hand, with that, we still have, it says 28, but in a sense, 2 of us are there. So we've got 26 people still on with us. And so we need to do our giveaway. So Ashleigh, I do need to ask you to pick a number from 1 to 26. And then even though some people think, even though some people think it's haphazard, I actually am going to take a moment and someone can do the Jeopardy music and I'm going to scroll through and pick. So what number would you like to pick? What's your favorite number?
13.
13. That was actually, my mom was born on Friday the 13th. I love it. So, all right. So
that's our family's lucky number.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. 13 is Justine Hamilton. So that's actually a newer person with us, but I said that earlier and she gave a thumbs up. So I'm going to definitely make a note of that. Justine, if you could drop for us in the chat your email address, that would be wonderful. And you are going to get a $20 store credit to shop with us at Life. That is going to go into your account after the 12 days of Christmas are done. But thank you so much for being a part of tonight's program, Justine. We really appreciate that. So good. I wanted to get that out of the way before I forgot. Now, a couple of other housekeeping things, and then I do always like to go back to our guests to kind of give you guys the opportunity to wrap things up before we conclude for the evening. I do want to remind everybody, I actually failed to say it earlier. Maybe Erin remembered to drop it in the chat, but remember guys, this entire week through January 6th, you get 50% off our skincare should you so purchase. And especially if you missed our Black Friday or our Cyber Monday sales, which are normally the only other time that we do that. So the code for that is TDOC2450, 12 days of Christmas. Of course, it's 2024 still, and then 50% off. So TDOC 2450 is your code to get you 50% off skincare. That is only going to exclude the Llama loofahs because I have to make those by hand, and it will exclude any of our gift sets that are still on our site. But otherwise, that's our salve, our bath bombs, our steamers, our lippies, our body butters, our soaps, everything underneath the sun related to our skincare and of course to our sheep. Outside of that, I want to remind you guys, of course, you have opportunities for every $10 that you spend that gets you a ticket to go into our keepsake basket. And that's the basket that's been sitting next to me this entire time. It keeps getting messed up because I keep showing everything that everybody is putting into it. But again, thus far from our guests, we've got a free online workshop for crafting with locks. We've got yarn. We've got a sweatshirt. And might I say, a really, really nice backpack from the Newfoundland Pony Conservancy. And then again, to top it off, because as I said, I know all my knitters love things that are sweet and they love their wine. So you've got 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from these ladies that you'll be able to collect at a later point in time once it is Girl Scout cookie season. In addition to that, well, you probably just have to stay tuned to see every guest and see what they have included. But every guest has something in this basket. I haven't totaled up the value, but I am sure that it is well over $1,000 just in terms of the items that are all donated of various levels from different people, and we've got 11 different guests that have things in here. In addition to that, we've got different drops that are happening in this week. So lots of ways. These are things that I purposely held because I knew people would want to sign on for the 4th annual Life and Rainbows Knit Along. So Kimberly and I purposely did a soft lunch during this time. So if you sign up for the $75 Knit Along, that's 7 tickets that you're going to get for something that you were going to do anyway, because most of you have joined us for this each year. So now that's 7 tickets to go towards this basket. Again, stay tuned because Linda Courtwright from Wild Fibers is doing another lecture series. And if you sign up for all 4, because they're recorded, so why wouldn't you? It's $35 as opposed to $60. And then again, that's 3 tickets that are going to go in for this basket. So all different ways in which you can kind of play along, if you will. And again, we've got a lot more coming down the pike in terms of patterns and yarn and lots of other fun things. So keep all of that in mind as we roll along with the night's programs. Now, tomorrow night, just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, and I had to like double check my list. Tomorrow night, we're gonna kind of still stay with a little bit of a farmy theme. I don't want to say it's non-industry because it is industry, but again, it's gonna be somebody that you don't know. So I have a shearing client and friend. Her name is Allie Kennedy. She is out of Delaware, and I met her maybe about 3 or 4 years ago now when sheep that I was shearing got relocated to her farm. And that's often what happens is I travel with animals that I shear for as they move to different places, if that so happens to be. And in this instance, they have landed on really a pretty cool farm with a woman, honestly, guys, who has energy that matches mine. Now, if you guys know me, you know I will not say that often, and I love the energy from Allie every time I show up there. And it's one of those things where it's like, I wish we keep in touch more often, but we don't. We're both so busy. But when I show up there, it just also feels like home to me, and I feel like I'm with my people. And both of us have kind of found this bond through loss, which many of you know that's kind of how Kimberly and I got back together again. And so again, all of this comes full circle. And as a result of her loss, she has created this not-for-profit farm. She has gone on to be a certified grief counselor, and then she uses her farm and her animals to be able to work with different people coming to this farm. Now, while she doesn't have llamas, we're working on it. I'll let her go for that. But she has 2 sheep named Thelma and Louise, which you're going to want to hear about them. I hear she'll be coming to us perhaps with either a chicken or a duck in hand. So getting some kind of animals in there. But it's a really great cause. And whether or not there's a way of you helping her, you are still going to be able to learn about what she is doing, even if you're nowhere related to Delaware. So I really encourage you again to give somebody else support, much like we did for these guys by joining us tomorrow evening, to just hear about how other people do animals and do farming aside from myself. I thought you were like choking or coughing and needed to go get water.
You reminded me we didn't introduce you to Flash.
Oh my gosh. I am telling you, I need to find this video that I just recently started. Look at him. He's like, ah, oh my gosh. So cute. Okay, now I've just lost all track. Sorry, guys. New program. We're going to do a program on tortoises. So wait, though, they do live like 40 years, don't they?
Try 75 to 100.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I think that you will be carrying on the care of him, Ashleigh.
Yeah.
Now, somebody's asking,
grandma.
because apparently there's different types of which I would not know. So what type of tortoise is that?
So he is a Herman's tortoise.
Okay, because my friend Amy is asking, it looks like she's saying either silkata or slicata. I don't know. I'm thinking if there's maybe like different kinds. That's what she is asking. Yeah. Do a knitting. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm like scrolling back to people's comments, which is amazing. And somebody is saying, do a knitting program on the farm in the spring so we can get Girl Scout cookies too. So it's all about the Girl Scout cookies. But so how old is Flash?
So he is 5.
We need to see him.
Yeah, he is 5. He's turning 6 in March.
Now I would be like, he's tiny for 5,
well,
6.
He's a full grown. So he's the size. He's full grown. So he was the size of like the inside of your palm when we got him. But my cousin has one that's like the size of a giant tire.
Okay.
So that was that size. So this is as big as he'll ever get.
Now, is that because of him? Now I'm like, all right, just when I thought I was going to wrap this up, now I need to know about this tortoise.
We'll
So,
tell you later. We'll tell you later.
oh, wait. So is that his breed? Is that why he's only going to be as big as that?
Yes.
And he obviously lives inside because they do need heat, correct?
Yeah, so he lives in a glass tank with a heat lamp, and they get a heat lamp when they wake up in the morning, and then you turn it off when they go to bed, and they burrow under bedding. And
I know everyone.
he
We're all
loves he loves blueberries. He loves blueberries.
I am sending you guys, I'm telling you, I need to see this little like buffet for a tortoise like I just watched the other day. Now, I also have to ask, what, because right, people look at me and they're like, why llamas? Why do you own llamas? I'm like, I don't know. So why did you get a tortoise?
I've had fish since I was born, and I'd get a betta fish. For some reason, I was obsessed with like the fighting fish, and I think I had 3, and then my last one died, and I really wanted a dog, but my parents are my brother and my dad are allergic, so I was looking actually at a turtle, and I came up to this place, and they had a baby tortoise, and I was just in love with him. And that's really the reason that I chose to have a tortoise, because I never would have thought that I would have had a tortoise, but I'm just so grateful.
Do you feel like, so of course people ask me like, do they know you? Did they come for their name? Like, so do you feel like you're a tortoise? Because based on this video that I saw, I am really interested. Do you feel like the tortoise is responsive to you? Like, can you do with him?
Yes. Every time we come past his cage, he'll like come over, try to talk to us. He thinks that he's a human. He will walk on the floor. He'll try to bite things. He loves food. He loves blueberries, escarole. He loves attention, and he loves to sunbathe. He thinks that he's like a mini human, and he understands like everything.
Now, this video that I was watching, granted, they're like, you can teach your tortoise tricks. And they had like a hoop and the tortoise walked through it. Meanwhile, the hoop was on the floor. So like, honestly, they could have just put the hoop in front of the tortoise. But he was also on this little hamster wheel, and he was like walking on that. And they definitely showed like different snacks that he liked to eat. And they swore, now I need to know this, they swore that the shells, of course, this was just in a video, that the shells are sensitive, and they were scratching the shell.
Yeah. And he dances, and he loves it. It's like scratching your back. They dance. He loves it.
I mean, I'm sure I probably can't ask you to like do it on command, but I'm like, are you kidding me? So they were scratching his little booty, and he was like dancing, like as if he loved scratching.
I think he has to be, hold on, because he has to be like on the table.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see him, but like
just when I thought this program was going in one direction, he's probably like, Mom, this is too slippery.
Flashy.
But yeah, they were scratching his shell, and he was like wiggling back and forth, and then they were spraying him with water. And
we don't do that.
It seemed to like that also. But I was like, are you kidding me? They can really feel you through the shell. And they was saying,
they say it's very, it's like, it's like scratching like your nails and stuff. It's very sensitive. They love it. And now he's not. He's like, what are you doing? I wanted to show you a picture of when he was a baby.
Yes, I want to see.
Oh, like he literally was the size of a palm. I'm trying to show, oh, here's her finger.
Oh my gosh.
Like he was literally like, just, they put him in the palm of her hand, and she was like, that's mine, I want him.
Oh my God, so
and he was just a couple weeks old.
Now, the funny thing is, as a young person, you don't realize, like, you're going to go off to college, you have a tortoise. You are going to be like, you know, dating somebody, get engaged, you have a tortoise. You're going to be married, you have a tortoise. You are going to have a baby, you have a tortoise. It was like, when I decided to get my cat in college, you know, you're still a kid and you don't think about, I'm going to have this cat for 20 years, right? and all of the things that you drag that animal through. Thank God my cat could not talk. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, she's gonna be the grandma with the tortoise.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, guys, if there's no other reason than to tell people to join us for TDOC, this is exactly it. Like, just when you think we're just about to wrap up, myself included, I'm like, oh my God, we have a whole new program. I literally could go on for another hour now asking questions about the tortoise. And that is why I do this, because I genuinely love people. I'm genuinely curious. I am genuinely interested, and I hope that you guys are feeling the same way about it. So before we wrap up, because I must, thankfully my fire has died down. I'm no longer dying of heat exhaustion. You have been a trooper. Again, pull your hood down, because some people might have joined and have no idea why you're wearing what you're wearing, but absolutely adorable. These guys surprised me with these outfits. I totally love it. Could not have brought more fun to this program. And so thank you for that. Before we wrap up, is there anything I'm going to say for each of you individually that we've not asked, that you've not been able to share, or anything that you want to say as we wrap up tonight's program?
Well, I want to say thank you for Tabitha allowing us to have the llamas and the sheep, because I have always been an animal lover, and we tried to help at the Historical Society with the Animals Forever. And the bonds we made with the sheep and the llama, as she knows, I'm now obsessed. I get llama candies. I have llama signs in my classroom. My students draw llamas. Like, my new obsession is llamas. And they're just an amazing creature. And while Ashleigh had a lot of, small animal experience, a large breed is totally different. And it was just an amazing experience to have, and trusting her babies with us, because she knows I would have taken them home, because they're like my babies now too, and I miss them very much. So we definitely built a bond with them, even though we had them for such a short time.
And we do keep in touch. I mean, guys, Catherine really does, text me or check in here or there, or she was showing me pictures that her students were drawing, or gifts that her students gave her, knowing how much she loved llamas. And she'll text me and say, see, do you really believe that I talk about them all the time now? which I love, and not that I doubted it in any way, but it's still fun to think that just having that small connection, albeit 5.5 or 6 weeks, or whatever it was, just another reason, guys, of why fiber and yarn and animals, we always say fiber friends are the best friends, and in any capacity in which it all connects us is amazing. So thank you for that. And
Thank you.
I think the same, just to thank you for the opportunity to be able to explore a whole new world of animals, and to just gain insight onto not just me, but for the campers and everything, to be able to experience new animals in a new setting, and kind of gain this world, like this knowledge of something that they wouldn't have thought. Like, who would have ever thought that llamas would be at camp, and that the older kids would get to enjoy the llamas and the sheep, and just be able to go into like the area where little kids usually are, and they're usually, the olders aren't as experienced, they don't get to see the animals. And I think having this opportunity where everyone at camp kind of felt like the llamas and the sheep were their babies was just a great experience.
Good. I'm glad. Well, and again, I'm not sure, had I not seen the renovations being done, to the area, and not having known when I first showed up there that this was part of your project. Because look, everybody who knows me knows I am so supportive of youth, and especially animals, and youth and animals combined. So I think, had I known that, going into it, I would have even been more supportive. But just seeing that the areas were being renovated, and that was something that they seemed to be, I didn't know it was you, that they seemed to be taking that as a level of importance, was key in my being willing to bring the animals there, and their willingness, probably under your guidance, in terms of what the areas were supposed to be like, how it could be changed, what could be done differently. and then the incorporation of the animals into the camp was just absolutely amazing. So now, do you have plans on being a counselor again this coming summer?
Hopefully, and then hopefully we get the llamas and the sheep back, and we'll be there at 6 in the morning taking care of them
I was
again.
gonna say, well, it might be conditional because,
Yeah.
Katherine, if you ever needed job security, Ashleigh, if you ever needed job security, it really is going to be contingent on my getting the same experience that these animals had. So I will make sure that that is by the camp, and I do hope that I get to work with you guys again this summer.
Yes, us too. Thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for bringing the fun to this. And I couldn't be prouder to be able to give you this platform. I hope it's helped. Again, somebody commented that on the YouTube channel, what you guys could do to be helping Ashleigh is even just comment. Now, of course, that helps me as well. Not that I know anything about that, but, like, share, subscribe, follow. I don't know, but comment. And then those are things that Ashleigh can probably extract from that to be able to use for her project, to be able to see what you have to say about what you learned tonight. And I'm sure she can pull those out and make that as part of her millions and millions of paperwork or whatever it is that she needs to compile to submit. What better than to have your words for her to be able to share with whoever it is that needs to be able to see that she's done her part to bring this to a greater audience. So thank you for all of you that have been with us live. Thank you in advance for anybody that watched the recording. Thank you to the two of you for taking your evening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your holiday and look forward to following up with you come summer. And with that, I hope everybody has a great evening. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.